I'm going to give Paul one more minute, because I'm sure he's racing down the hill as we speak. And there isn't anybody for us to be holding up right now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Even though Paul's not here, Paul will catch up. But 5 minutes after 7, meeting called to order. This is a flimsy little gavel. Is that the usual gavel?
You're good at that.
Get your bigger one.
Any public comments for things not on the agenda? I have one.
Don't all stampede.
Okay, I don't have any speakers lists. I just wanted to say to the group, if you haven't gone to our webpage on granada.ca.gov recently, Claudia did a number of updates and refreshes and reorganizations to it. And it now has on it the survey and the survey comments. It's 2 different documents, so you don't have to look at all 55 pages at once.
Oh.
And the newsletter is up and reorganized, so the newsletters are all together, the survey stuff is all together, and the public outreach things are there. And as soon as I sent to Matthew, Barbara, and David the Burnham report to have a look at, and as soon as they bless that, we'll put that up as well on the links. Yeah.
You updated that this week? Or when
Was
did
it
that go live?
Probably a couple weeks ago.
Last week, okay.
Good for you, thank you. Very good.
Yes, I'm so happy that someone else did it. So I wanted to mention that. Thank you, Claudia.
You're welcome. I have maybe something to say. I attended a dog park meeting, and we're getting to, I've been talking about saving the whole area above the top lot and the 2 acres above it, the green. When it rains, it's green.
To the area to the right
On
of
the
the
right
parking.
side.
On the right, above the top lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that one little section, it's, including the top lot, maybe 3 or 4 acres altogether, and want that for family use and picnic and, and sports. So people come out and play sports out there. And not for a dog park, because some people are using it for a dog park. And the county finally mowed the other side of the parking lot.
The meadow.
And they mowed a huge section. And so most people are playing over there with the dog.
Where are we talking about now? What
On the other
property?
side of Quarry Park.
Quarry Park. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this
You know
is-
where the tot lot is. So the dog
I know,
park,
okay.
now, we want on the other side of the parking lot.
Where your drawing was, yeah, to the right, left of the parking
Oh,
lot.
okay.
So we're working on it. They're talking about, they're gonna fence it. They're doing some work in Quarry Park right now around the tot lot. And so they're talking about fencing just the tot lot. And I said, if you do that, then people think they can use the other part. So you have to either fence the whole thing or put up signs, no dogs in this area. So
That's interesting.
I think it's gonna be something we gotta keep
Not that
fighting
kind of
for.
TV show.
So that's it.
That was a little too much information. Welcome.
Sorry I'm late.
We just started like 2
You
minutes
just
ago.
rush.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah, I just had to rush with the kids
Okay.
and get them on their path to success for the night.
That's right, Tuesdays
See you
are.
later.
Wash your face, go to bed.
Yeah.
I thought I'd just mention, just for the record, people that might be watching, that the skate ramp is being rebuilt.
I saw it's a work in progress.
Work in progress.
And because it's shifted, it actually, is it the exact same size it was?
Yes.
No,
I
it looks
thought
bigger.
it's shifted 90 degrees, and now because you're looking through the middle, it looks bigger, but when I walked and looked at it from the end I'm used to looking at, I thought, no, it looks about the same size. But you're not
Perspective
used
is
to
everything.
seeing it.
And I
on
saw
that
it with all those posts up. Have they cut those down?
No, they'll cut them down eventually.
No.
Yeah, they're not done.
Yeah.
Are they gonna do skate light on it?
Yes, that
Okay,
is still
so-
coming.
Yep.
That is
Love
coming, that is coming this weekend.
Okay, good.
It's
What is
been
it
bought.
called?
The skate light, it's the masonite. Instead of masonite, they use skate light, which is
A
a
more
weatherproof.
weatherproof?
It is a weatherproof, yeah. It's a very,
That's
it's a
good,
specific
yeah.
ramp material.
I was very proud that I knew what skate light was.
Yeah.
It's very good.
I need to know.
Yeah.
Actually, Barbara Dye went out, and I went out there one day to talk to somebody who probably was in his late 40s, but getting his exercise, except for the arthritis in his knees. And so we asked him, because the masonite was all crappy on it, and he said, they used to have skate light on it. It was really good. So we said, we should put skate light on it.
Isn't like $250 a sheet or $350
It's-
a sheet? I mean, back when I
It's
did-
about 200% more expensive than masonite, but it lasts many more years.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, good. Any other things not on the agenda? Pat, I thought you maybe, we had the concerns raised about maybe we didn't capture all the comments. And I know you went back after the board meeting and captured about 300 comments rather than the 20 we started with. And so that's why the comments document is 28 pages long now. And they're all here.
Yeah, you murdered some trees.
And you've got a printed copy here.
I feel fairly confident that the response, the comments are there. I found them. I just didn't look deep enough in the survey, but I found them all.
Okay. Okay. The, I know you had found Lenny's by her name, so you found that they were in there. We asked Lisa to type them all in, and I only typed about 40 surveys, and out of that, maybe about 25 comments, and I saw mine in there, so all the other comments Lisa typed in, so I know she was typing comments.
Thank you for doing that, Pat.
Yeah, but I still haven't found mine, and there's a few other people that haven't found their remarks, so there's.
I talked to Delia, and she said she hasn't looked through the new document. So she didn't see them in the initial document that only had about 20 comments, but she had not looked through the.
No, I read the 300.
Yeah, well, Delia had not, so
But
hers might well be there.
Oh,
So if somebody doesn't think their comments are in there, then they need to come down to the district, identify your survey. We have this pile of all the surveys, and once you identify your survey, then we can see what your comments were, and then we can enter that and see if it's in the report. Otherwise, there's no way to track whether it's in there for sure or not.
well, are the 300 in here now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going through and I don't see it still, but,
So find your survey with
yeah,
Claudia.
I'll come in. We decided maybe Thursday, come in and look.
Okay. All righty. So, march through the agenda. The first item on the agenda is to review the minutes from our last meeting in August. I have one change, Claudia.
Yeah.
And it's just on item 7. It says, Chair Marsh summarized that there will be no further activity on the median divider proposals due to lack of public interest. It was not lack of public interest, because there were a lot of public that were interested. It should say proposals due to public concerns regarding liability, because that was really what drove the board to put it on a back burner.
But on the back burner, it's, I found the same thing I was gonna say, yeah. Proposals due to lack of public, no further activity.
It should
shouldn't
say at
that
this
either.
time. It should say at this time.
At the time, right.
So summarize, there will be no further activity at this time on the median divider proposals due to public concerns regarding liability.
Mhm. Okay.
And other than that,
So
they
I'll
were,
move to approve the minutes.
Before you go to approval, Delia asked me to have her name removed from the minutes as the secretary.
okay,
As secretary? Mm,
because it's not just Claudia.
okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take that out. Okay, so Fran moves to approve,
Second?
and Pat. All in favor?
Aye.
I always forget that part. All in favor, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How many are here? 6? Okay. I can never remember if we record the votes or just say unanimous. Okay. Okay. Item number 2 is just to have a chance to recap the workshop. And I just wanted to collect up for the board, for the Parks report to the board in 2 weeks, what PAC things went well, what to improve, what key things we learned, and any advice we have to the board for next steps. And maybe the easiest way to do that is kind of go in that order, kind of what worked. We had about 45 people ultimately, and the kids kept moving, so I kept losing count, but somewhere between 7 and 12 kids at various times, but Gavin and Jasper, who are my new best friends. And I saw Jasper at the post office and said hi to him, and he remembered me, so we are now
Oh, he
like
told me.
buddies.
Yeah.
Is that one of your kids?
Yeah.
They did the drawing on the,
Yeah, they're-
on the move. They were
Might
very
be-
serious.
Nancy might just give the date of the workshop, because in case somebody
Oh, thank you.
doesn't know what it is.
For the camera, this is the Burnham Park Public Workshop that was on October 24th from 5 to about 8:30 PM at El Granada School. Attended by about 45 members of the community, which I thought was a really good turnout. We didn't really have any idea, who were enthusiastically working. A few people came and went, but I think we had a good solid 40 to 45 people who were there for the duration. So why don't we start with, what do people think went well with the workshop? Everybody was there? You guys were all working, except Rick. He was a tourist.
I thought it was well organized, and it was not, or it's a minimum of confusion, given the fact that it's a public event. I thought it was well organized, and, you know, dividing up the groups, I think, was a clever way of doing that, to have people with like interests together and talking about those. So it did really represent, you know, the range of viewpoints, if you will, for the people who were in attendance there, from those who said they wanted minimum development or minimum change, to those who were very activity oriented and that applied more change. So it was reasonably representative of the people who were there.
Good, thank you, Pat.
I think it was interesting that there was a spectrum. Fran was the more passive side, and I was next to the active group, and I was kind of like middle. And but the active group, they took every single thing that was in there, and they threw it in there. And
Yeah.
there's still so much space. So what I did, being in the middle, I was kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a little movement to have this like view area kind of being free of stuff, you know, kind of thing. And so my group kind of like, well, we've got all this space down here, let's put it down here. And so it was interesting that Fran's more passive and my middle was, well, they were almost identical in terms of the space that was allowed. I
Yeah,
thought that was
and the
kind of cool.
voting.
Yeah, you'll have to see my picture that we did years ago, because I didn't mean that we didn't want anything on the park. We did have
Yeah,
things on the park,
no, that's
just
right.
more passive
Yeah.
instead of very active.
And that's
Peaceful.
okay.
Yeah.
That's great. We have to share within the community because we have such divergently different interests.
Mhm.
And I'm getting older. Like I can see sitting on a bench being real cool.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
it was a great participation, I thought, from the community. Actually, pretty well organized for an event where people weren't just sitting and listening, you know, it took, I think, some individuals a little while to warm up to the idea of what they needed to do. It took a few people to wrap their head around, like, wait, what are these little circles and stickers for? But I think once one or two of the tables kind of got it, everyone kind of looked and said, oh, that's how that works, and it just kind of proliferated. Yes, that word.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very good.
I thought for the goals of a public meeting like that, you know, you gotta remember that that may or may not be representative of a community. It's a snapshot of the people who were in attendance at that meeting, and I thought it was a very good snapshot of what their interests were. But you know, it needs to be, the results of the workshop need to be combined with other sources of data that we have from, you know, for Burnham Park to really get a full picture. But, you know, the one very unique aspect was the placement of facilities that we're not going to get in any other medium. And so it'd be interesting, you know, I think it gives us some direction in the next step, which is, you know, in my view, you know, having 3 or 4 concept plans for Burnham Park and using the feedback and the location data between the surveys and the workshop gives us, you know, some, I think, really clear direction.
I, at first, was skeptical about whether we needed to do this meeting, and I saw one survey comment that I laughed at, because it said, you had an outreach event a year ago with what they thought were plans, why are you asking again? Just get on with it.
Yeah.
But, because I thought between the survey and the really freehand comments we got in the first one, you know, you could give it to Steve and he could start laying out something people could comment on. But I was really impressed with the creativity, particularly on the parking. I think when we talked at the facilitator meeting, I said, have them map the parking first, because if they're like the survey, it'll be, you know, majority, same parking, same size, and they'll just, you know, draw that in and get the hang of drawing it in. But they went all over the place with it, and I thought that was great. So it was learning for me that sometimes you just need to do it. The other thing I would say that what went well, and I learned this because I used to organize such meetings for a living, but I used to organize them where either I was the most senior person in the room, and so people were well behaved. The SVP of HR, who could be judging you, and they're smart enough to know, yes, she is, so behave. Or I was facilitating meeting for very senior executives, so they also were looking to behave. So I knew this was going to be a little bit more wild, but my experience always was if you do really, really, really intense preparation and have a really tight plan, you can always loosen it up and it will still get you to where you're trying to go. But if you come in loose and it starts to go wild and then you try to pull it together, you're like, you've completely lost it. So I was glad to see that even though people voted in all kinds of different ways, people, you know, got a little, there was anarchy. This is what you don't get in a corporate meeting. But it was a very, I thought, constructive, positive energy anarchy. And we got where we really wanted to go with the drawings, and it really freed up people to have some creativity. There was one interesting thing I saw, and that was Brian was going around photographing everybody's voting chart.
Mhm.
And I remember I heard him say to Fran, they're actually more alike than you think. But I thought, I need to actually put them all in the report and make them public, because I think we're still building trust with the public here. That, you know, we're not just putting them through a pace so we can check a box and say we did public outreach and now we're going to do whatever we want to do. I think we really have to show that we listened, we heard, we memorialized it, and that's why I want all of it on the website so people can see their work.
That's interesting that Brian said that, because I did not speak to him at all, that he came to this sort of similar conclusion that I.
Yeah. And the other, you can, I think, when you see the voting chart, and I can pass this around, I just didn't want to publish it until the board members got back to me. But when you look at the top 10 or 12 things, I think 9 of the top 12 were in the same order with the survey.
Right.
And the only place that they diverged a little bit is because we had a very active and large active group. I thought actually they were, some of them actually, when I did the cut, were supposed to be at Michelle's table, but they moved over to all gang up together. I thought that was a bit of a strategic error. Because
That's what I was thinking.
they could have
That was
had 2
anarchy.
maps with lots
Yeah.
of stuff on them instead of just
That's what
one.
I was kind of saying that. I'm like, well, you know, if we all get our vote, this table gets lumped into one vote, you just should have essentially consolidated everybody under one, you know.
Yeah, I thought I was going to
Some
have
of
2
that stuff, I was kind of
after
seeing it happen, and
Well-
hey, you know what? I thought too, also, there was just every, you know, people were there.
There's so
and
much energy
They
for
kind
it.
of, yeah, saw where the, you know, that sort of, like how people, where people, you know, congregated and, and, you know, it just, I think a lot of people were interested in, I mean, honestly, I think, like, from people that were there to see Active Rec, a lot of them, you know, saw the ideas and were, you know, happy with, you know,
Yeah.
getting some of those installed, you know, as opposed to.
Well, actually, the skate park came in positive across the board. It, you know, was number 3 on the survey, and it was number 3 here. The only places where the more active group and the kids, they had a lot more enthusiasm for the sports courts and the bicycle pump track than the other groups. But I think, you know, if we just go on public sentiment, could do a really awesome skate park and shouldn't get any objections to that at all.
One of the things I noticed was early on, everyone was concerned with fiscal issues. You know, people
How much
people
is
aren't
this
used
gonna
to
cost?
people just asking them, "What do you want?" And they're like, "Well, what?" You know,
Yeah,
everyone's
what's
like, "Well,
attached?
what's it going to cost me?" You know, everyone wanted to know, "Well, what do I have to pay for it?" So it's like people weren't. You had to open up. No. There's money. This is
We should probably say this is the wish list phase.
right. But even people were hesitant when you told them they had carte blanche. They were still people
You
are
can't believe
with
it.
their purse strings.
Yeah.
Purse strings. They're like, well, maybe that. You know, you propose something expensive. That's too much. That'll never happen.
Do you tell
Yeah.
them how much money we have in the bank?
I think that's why Barbara said it right at the beginning. You know, we have $1 million
Yes.
sitting in reserve.
And
I'd like to
lead
do a
with
park.
that. You did. You kind
Yeah.
of preferenced that to some of the people that had concerns.
Yeah.
And
Bar-
then,
yeah,
and then the
Barbara said-
annual reoccurring revenue, and then the rate change, and then the tax change, and things of that nature. That I think
Yeah.
that settled a few of the people in that were very proactive, but didn't want to
Didn't want
incur
a bigger
any-
bill.
Right. They're like, great, we'd love to have all this stuff, but I ain't paying for it.
Well, this is, I mean, we're still in the absence of practicalities like cost overall, phasing, whatever gets thrown at us in permitting,
Yeah.
between CEQA and Coastal Commission and the county. So, but let's just start with what we really want. And I think Barbara said she may ask Steve, looking at the land and adjacencies and informed by all that we have, to make a proposal about phasing.
Yeah.
And then the board is just gonna have to decide how much do they wanna spend a year and how long do they wanna take to build it. It's all possible. 750, it's about 800,000 a year coming from the county and the property tax, which over time should be shifted. The intent is to shift it all to parks. Right now, 450 is going to parks because it's still subsidizing sewers.
Right.
But according to the state legislature, it's not supposed to be subsidizing sewers post Prop 13 because you can charge fees for sewers, but the sewer fees here have never quite caught up to the sewer cost.
Are the sewer fees for just like new sewer systems, or is that?
No, it's the
actual
annual on
yearly
your
fees?
property bill. Right now, it's $520 on this year's property bill for sewer fees.
Okay.
But there are extra costs right now because of the lawsuit. It's like, $500,000 to lawyers because of the lawsuit. with Half Moon Bay.
$500,000 to the lawyers?
Yeah, look at the budget
For what?
for the lawsuit with Half Moon Bay.
Oh.
I've been wanting to have that lawsuit explicated by anybody who can. It seems like nobody can because it's all closed.
Now, look at the, what the discussions are all
Look at
closed.
each water agency's budget and you'll see what the cost of the lawyers.
Look at their
Right.
budget and their spends, which are public in their audited financial reports, and you'll find the legal fees.
But the result of the lawsuit in terms of who has to pay what for the intertie,
It's not done yet.
And if Half Moon Bay loses that, they're gonna pay the whole thing, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Okay, I won't take us down there.
One thing I would like to add is that, $1 million for a park is not enough.
Oh, yeah, that's the
And,
beginning.
but there's grants and
To
stuff.
build a really accessible, fully accessible park, like some of the folks identified at the workshop, it's gonna be 2 or 3 million at the minimum. So let's not put the horse before
Yeah.
the cart in terms of saying we were able to finance it. It's gonna be a huge commitment for the district. But there is some money. There's certainly plenty of money to get the planning rolling and getting things going, so. we'll see.
One of the things one of the board members mentioned, because you're right, 750,000 a year, and you have to consider maintenance costs and more resources in those. But because because the district has an ongoing revenue stream, they were discussing a willingness to explore loans or bonds, because they have a revenue stream to pay it back. They may be able to get more fees up front.
And there are
Claudia
grants,
mentioned
there
that as
are
well.
specialized grants, like for ADA accessibility, there are specialized grants, there's a pot of money at the state level, but, we can't count on it, we have to,
We have to
do it
pitch.
on our own for the most part.
Is this why you've asked Jim to put it in phases?
Well, asked Steve.
Steve, sorry.
To put it in phases, because we have $1 million right now. and see, you know, what could we do first and then second and then third. But I think the assumption is it's gonna take a few years to, you know, it's gonna be built over several years.
Yeah.
So apparently there's a lot of grant money for parks and stuff like that. I was at Kevin Mullen's coffee thing on Saturday at the Happen Bay Coffee Company, and it's right next to Carter Park. And you know, Happen Bay wants $4 million to redo that park. It's gonna be so incredible. The Redwood Grove down there, Shakespeare in the park, all that kind of thing. Anyway, everybody walked Kevin down to the park to look at it. He said, oh yeah, we can find money for this.
You what?
Oh yes, we can find money for this. I mean, you have some city
Yes.
money, and you have some, you know, state money and stuff like that. So he might be a really responsive person to talk to about the funding, because that's less expensive than Carter Park, and it's gonna serve more people.
Yeah. Bob Nesbitt brought up,
Manager of Happen Bay.
yeah, a measure, and I can't remember the letter of the measure, but there's money that is going to the county for that measure that he thought we ought to be getting. It's based on head count, that we ought to be getting a share of based on head count in the district.
Yeah,
For
Bob's a parks guy. And he comes from, you know, Oakland over there, big parks guy, so he knows all
Yeah,
about
he
that.
came, he was at the workshop.
Nice.
Well, and don't forget too, that they're also considering money for the community center. So that has to be figured in there too. So if they wind up buying the fire
Purchasing
station
land.
or whatever,
Yeah.
that's gonna take a big chunk of
Yeah.
money.
So it was good to have the question on which do you prefer if we could only do one.
Mhm. Well, you know, it would be a shame, I think personally, to miss the opportunity to buy the fire station, the old fire station.
I think so.
That's
Well,
right in the right place to have a community hub. That's another story. So
Okay.
I mean, just
I
a
mean,
thought, we currently rent this facility, right?
Yeah.
So that money that's rent could be used.
If the
Alone.
offices could move into
Yeah,
the
that should
community
be our
center
offices.
and get out of the I think it's $5,000 a month rent here for this space.
Conversely, when the Harbor District moves out of their space, and you can ask the people below to move, we now have a building that we can rent, the whole thing. Continuity, you know, within a single building without, you know, I mean, there should be a cost-benefit comparison between buying something and, you know, continuing to rent something.
Renting something that is appropriate space for
Mhm.
community
Yeah.
use.
This is a great space for what we need to do, you know.
Let me go back to the workshop, so we finished up this discussion. What we talked about, what went well, other things to improve for our next public outreach.
Two procedural things. One was, some people decided to take a dot that they liked, and they just went around to all the maps and put their dot on there. So
Anarchy,
We
yeah.
can't, you know, share dots. And the other thing is, remember how I was talking about making little, like Lego pieces out of the, so it turned out that the active people took my idea
Yep.
and ran with it. And so I think that, I mean, I know it takes maybe an hour of extra time to map something out on a spreadsheet, but I think it'd be worth it. Those are my two suggestions.
Oh, I don't think we need another workshop like that at the school. Is that what you're talking about?
Just if we're gonna do for next outreach, what could we improve? I'll make it more general, not outreach.
No, I don't think we need another workshop at the school. We could do something out on Burnham Strip again. And people really see.
Yeah.
get out
Yeah,
there and
like
see.
we would have another top lot jumper before it gets wet.
And draw people out, yeah.
Otherwise, we'll have to wait till like, you know, February. to
I'm
do
beginning to
s-
wonder if it's ever gonna get wet again.
It will.
Better.
And just for the record, I think all of us agree that this is not the last public meeting of any sort. We're not even halfway through the process, in my guess, of a Burnham Park. There will be other opportunities for meetings and public input. We
Yeah.
don't have a plan. We have ideas, and maybe eventually we will have concepts, but there will be many opportunities
Yeah.
for the public to comment before anything is finalized.
I think we're just about to a wish list.
Wish list stage.
And next stage is actual draft plans with more community feedback. And the board has certainly committed to more community feedback on each step. And then, of course, in the whole permitting process, you have public.
Yeah, because I think I was telling people that there might be a plan to move to permitting sometime in April.
I hope.
End of April, I said maybe
Permitting for what?
for permitting.
For Burnham
Park.
Park?
Yeah,
To get a plan done in the
Pretty,
first quarter.
okay, well.
Optimistic.
I keep
Maybe that was
pushing
just
for
to
it.
drum up enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I like the way you think, Paul.
Yeah. I keep quoting one of the things Matthew said a few meetings ago. He said, sometimes I think this takes so long because we let it. And do we really have to let it?
Yeah.
And so some things do take time to plan and
Yeah.
do, but
When
when
there's-
all you have to do is make some decisions, then.
If there was only
Make some
one
decisions.
district or department that had to make a decision, it could be done, but there's so many different, the county and all that.
Coast
They've got
commission.
planning and the supervisors, and the planning, it goes on for years before they ever start doing anything, before it even gets to the planning commission.
Except if you're the SNPUC, and then you can just fill out your PIR and say less than significant.
Yes.
That
Well,
works for me.
I learned
There you
those
go.
metrics.
Like how those
Yeah,
are.
what other, maybe we're talking about the workshop. Maybe
Yeah.
we can try to, get into one other discussion. One thing I too think about, and I think, we put pump track on there as like an item. And I think too, that was, we did that like, kind of initially is like to see if, that was something people were interested in. And I think, it might have had less support, with the thought of doing something at Quarry Park and that being a better spot. But I do think there's a lot of support for, the skate park being multi-use, you could have bicycles, BMX and also, scooters, yeah. Like, I think that's the interest in the Burnham Park area when it comes to those three,
I like the
forms
snake
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, someone got that in ours too. Steve Hawkton wasn't that impressed,
That's what
but
he said.
he kinda turned his nose up at it, yeah. I was
Yeah,
like,
whatever.
yeah, I don't know, okay, he knows, I don't,
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I kind of view, paved sort of accessibility for small wheels, as I call them, for scooters and skateboarders and BMX. The smaller wheels, a paved sort of ribbon sidewalk or something of that nature that all little kids could use. That's really fun around the skate park and by the beach.
Tell what BMX is.
It's a smaller bike, just a little bicycle. It's not a mountain bike.
That's the bicycle.
It's
Yeah.
slightly different. It's a different kind of bicycle. So there are many types. It's not a penny farthing or a mountain bike. It's
Paul had mentioned this up, and I think it was maybe Paul around the time when Delia circulated the picture of the kind of plasticky track. But Paul, you had said if there was a perimeter, and it's a paved, and actually I was surprised in the survey how much support there was for a paved perimeter trail, since we hear a lot about no paving. But I think you said if there were around the perimeter and maybe along the, highway boundary, where it's curvy and
Mhm.
hilly, and so it's more interesting for wheels, you can still push a stroller on it. You could still, I could ride my electric bike on it. And so it's still multi-use, but it's just it has more interest.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
the challenge with that, of course, is serving people with disabilities, whether they're seniors or
Yeah.
kids with
Yeah.
disabilities.
But it doesn't have to be all the way around, but.
Yeah, I think we are going to have a paved perimeter trail, just so that we can truly say we have served that element of the community. Having just been through a program that Michelle saw for kids from El Granada Elementary who have some disabilities, a paved trail made all the difference in the
Yeah.
world. And, so in my mind,
It was adaptive cycling, just so.
cycling.
Yes.
We're going to have to, I would say we should have a goal of making almost the entire park fully accessible, in my opinion.
I fully agree, and I think, paved trail through there and around it, you know, for everybody to use, walking, for pushing strollers, for wheelchairs, for, you know, like say, bicycling in, you know, more of a, like, you know, point A to point B matter, not racing, not, you know, doing cyclocross or getting aggressive or anything like that, you know, have that, you know, a true multi-use trail, you know, and yeah, I fully agree, and to, you know, get to the different areas, you know, to wind through the park or wrap around it, and, yeah, and like to the point of having something that was like curvy and had terrain, you know, I was thinking that would be more of like a little break off from there that would say, you know.
Like a path you could take.
Yeah, like to the skate park, like, you know, instead of just, you know, the regular multi-path, the, you know, all uses path goes right to the skate park area, you could have like a little break off before it, and, you know, for whatever length it would be, you could have your sort of bumps and, you know, like some berms and stuff.
Yeah,
And it would be, you know, that would, I think that would serve to kind of break off, you know, some kids that wanted to get a little rowdy, they could hit that little portion
Yeah.
and then stay off
Just
where
a
the
spur,
strollers are
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Good.
The bumps and the curves lie themselves very nicely with the plantings in nature.
Yeah, exactly, you know?
They do.
Yeah.
That sort of trail just disappears.
Yeah, between, you know, the sage and the manzanita and the.
Straight lines attract the
Just-
human eye. Nice little curvature. It's very
Good.
Yeah, what I found interesting was that everybody wanted the perimeter trail.
Yeah.
All of us, you know, decided that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think you can do a hard surface without asphalt. Most people do not want to see more asphalt.
Steve will
What
see.
about concrete?
Decomposed granite, which is what the roads were, some of it along the trail, so state parks do that.
What were the objections to the asphalt? Just aesthetic?
People don't want, yeah.
Just
and
aesthetic.
And the oil, and it goes into the ocean. Of course, we're next to a
There-
highway,
yeah.
but we don't need to add to it.
Have you been to, have you been to the Barn, the restaurant there? Are you familiar with their parking lot? Go take a look at that parking lot. That parking lot, Ken, the landscape architect that designed that parking lot is asphalt, but it's 100% permeable, and every ounce of water that goes through there gets collected in a cistern underneath it, and it.
Yeah, but is it oil-based?
No, it is not.
Oh.
And that water is 100% reclaimed and used on property for watering all the plants.
Well, like Paul said,
So there are many
there's
different surfaces.
permeable cement too.
Right.
Which
So there are
looks
many,
better.
there are many ways
It
that
looks
don't.
better.
Yeah. So just those options
Yeah,
exist.
Steve mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
You can get very environmentally friendly, permeable, hard surfaces.
And if it's just an aesthetics thing, that's hard to counter. One note that I didn't get, I tried to push for in our group. I wanted to see some lights. I mean, I
Some
know
what?
lights at this park. Because, you know, this time of year, we're all familiar with how dark it is, and it's only, 7:43
What kind of lights?
that light up at night, that make light.
I mean, up in the air or what? I know.
Yeah, so you
I
can
know-
use the park at night. In the evenings, in the wintertime, half of us don't get home until it's dark. I want to take my kids out and get exercise after work. Half the year, we're locked out. I think, and it's safer. I mean, maybe I'm the outlier here, but I would like some place in the evening that I could go play.
I thought about that,
Yeah.
and I definitely would go for the low-level path lighting.
Some sort of
So
light.
people can use the paths, and, there are people who ride bikes to and from work. And, just having even the low-level lighting along the path, so you can see when the critters are running across the road.
Yes.
Or, the people who are gonna go for a run. Somebody had that in one of the comments. Just even, it doesn't have to be big street lamps,
No.
but just some of that lighting so that you can use some of the things in the park. I look at stars, I don't like the light pollution of the big lights, but I agree for safety.
Safety.
And also for
I wouldn't mind shooting hoops.
making it visible, so that there's less inappropriate activity in the park.
Yeah.
To have some lighting throughout. It doesn't have to be on 24 hours a day, but.
No.
Well, I hadn't thought of lights, but I like that idea, the ones in the ground. Because I know people that live along that strip there. They see all the lights from the harbor and buildings over there, and they hate that. It's
Really?
too much light in their, in the windows and the faces.
The highway.
Although now lately.
The highway, they probably complain about the foghorn too.
No, they don't.
But I'll note that, like path or feature lighting.
Yes.
Like if you're gonna shoot hoops,
If you're gonna put a basketball court in, you should have it accessible,
That's a
at
big
least in the
if.
early evenings.
yeah,
You know, I mean, till 7,
Okay,
8 o'clock at night. I mean,
exactly. It can be on a timer and go
yeah,
off at
it's not hard. It's not a
8:30
hard
at
thing
night.
in a couple of.
It's, that is historically, in other areas, one of the most difficult things to
I
get
know.
through. Because of the light pollution, even with the best technology that we have now, which focuses like 80% of the light rays in the court or the
Yeah.
designated area, you still have something else going outside. You know, I would rather see a multi-court built than have nothing, because we want to add lights. to it
Yeah, I don't
as
think
well.
lights would be a deal breaker. I just think it'd be a great a great addition for people to be able to use at night. I mean, it's dark.
Yeah.
We're not getting our money's worth.
Well, most of the parks are dusk till dawn, dawn till
Right.
dusk, dawn
Right,
till dusk.
so what do we, then we go out and ride the trail and we do other things at
Well,
night.
maybe lights along the perimeter wouldn't, the low lights.
Yeah, that's not a
lighting
good, that's
that.
not a bad idea for safety.
Yeah.
Pretty, but it's not quite what I was getting at.
That'd be something.
No, but I know you're gonna,
Yeah.
I can see it at a basketball thing, having the one light that just lights up below it, but
Yeah.
on a time,
I mean-
timed so that it's not on all night.
Honestly, there's no real houses down towards the other end, really. I mean, you're not facing any,
No, just the
it's all
apartment
commercial
buildings
property.
there. And they don't
Well,
face
we
it.
don't have all that by the commercial property.
Where the skate ramp is? Yeah, we do.
Oh. Well, that,
That end, yeah. Okay, let me keep us moving. It's kind of nice having just us folks here for a chat. There were lots of questions on next steps. And so one of the things in the Parks report at the board, I thought I'd take a more view of, okay, where should we go from here? We have the 2018 data, where we gave people pictures and a blank sheet of paper, and they told us what they wanted. We have the survey data, where we gave them a list that was informed by that first event. And we have this data with all of its creativity. So what do we think they should do next?
Well, I think, are we comfortable, are there any questions with the survey results? You know, we mentioned that there may be some missing comments, but we'll get to the bottom of that. We'll make sure that that's resolved. But, you know, what did people learn from the survey? Because in my opinion, that's going to be the most representative data that we
Yeah.
have, that represents all the community, the people who are marginally interested, the people who are gung-ho about it, the people who are totally opposed to it. This is pretty representative, I
Yeah.
believe.
I-
So,
I would like to see the numbers on what we all agree on. Like, what was the most agreed on things in that order? I mean, rather than our differences, let's focus
Yeah.
on what.
yeah. what
That's
is-
on
the
page
mo- the top-
12. So that would be this column, Pat, the total survey column.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, when you look at the total,
No.
that's an average for everybody, and that hides differences between different segments of the community, so that's
Yeah.
why we have the 18 households with kids 18 years and younger in
Yeah.
it, as well as more senior households. And, you know, there's, just like the literature and all the research has previously shown, there's big, huge need differences and opinion differences. So we should keep in mind some of these differences, like, for instance, a huge difference, climbing boulders, households with kids, 70%, households with seniors, 38%.
many seniors wanna do that?
Huge skate ramps, even, you know, these sorts of things. We can't, the total average is helpful, but we should be open to satisfy the needs of at least those two segments in the community, and not lose track of that either.
Yeah, when Matthew says a park for everybody, I thought it was really important to pull out those different constituencies. I've looked at demographics. There's no perfect way to look at demographics of this community, but I use schools data for kids and voter registration data for adults. So if anybody's underrepresented, it's probably the 18 to 30-year-olds who haven't registered to vote yet. But about 40% of the population would be over 55. But we still have about 900 kids, and about 40% under 35. And so we really do have quite a spread. It's not, the sense is that, you know, this is a community that skews to older, and it does skew older, but it's not all older. You know, it really is about half and half. And so I think looking at these two constituencies separately, I can't remember, Pat, do you remember how, I think it's hard to tell, how many of the survey respondents were households with kids?
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah, that's the one on page 25.
Interesting. So,
Oh, this was the total number of persons in each age group.
That's persons in the age group.
But it was, yeah, it wasn't how many,
that's a
But
25?
the one below it, the figure below it is households with at least one person in those age groups, which I think tells the better story.
yeah.
Than 19 above.
Yeah, so you can see on the survey the balance between kids and older folks.
Yeah, because again, the categories up above are way off. Some are a 10-year span, 56 and more is 20-some-year span,
Yeah.
so they can't be compared that way. But when you do look at it, where we are actually have a 0 to 18 and a 56 plus, you can see the number of households that have that, which suggests that, you know, the community, the range in the community is being represented by the results.
Right on. So looking back at page 12 on all of those park features, I think a lot of confusion was generated, you know, you see ocean views, benches, native vegetations, restaurants, picnic areas. I think a lot of everyone in the active demographic agreed, yeah, all that.
Yeah,
That a lot of people think they're mutually exclusive. I don't think there's any way we could take away an ocean view from that area, you know?
No.
I mean, we'd have to get rid of the ocean. But, I mean, I think there was a lot of things that people thought, maybe think are mutually exclusive that
yeah, that
shouldn't
you
be.
either have ocean views or you have
Yeah.
native vegetation or you have a basketball court. But you're right, in 5 acres, you can have both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because,
And one of the things I'll point out for the senior population, because they are, you know, the majority in the community probably, is that they wanted a quiet area, so we do need to be respectful of that.
definitely.
And it doesn't mean that, certainly from the workshop results, doesn't mean that, you know, we can't have amenities. But, you know, that is an element, and that goes into hours of use, lights,
Oh,
lighting
yeah.
at night.
Yeah.
It goes into all those issues that come up, you know, the hours of parking, the parking lot is open.
Yeah.
Those are all related to being quiet. So it's just something to think about in the long run.
Definitely.
I think it was interesting at the, as people did their drawings, you know, when Steve showed the constraints map that he had done before he did his first drawings, he had the end near Picasso, where it's higher, there's more views from there. You can see all the way to the Ritz-Carlton from that end. And it's a view area, it's a wind area, and it had less or more sound, I can't remember. But he recommended that as a more passive area, and the areas that are in front of the pump house and the fire station and where the parking lot is, more active areas. And that's where all of the maps gravitated,
Yeah.
with the exception of the skate run.
Yeah, which, that was,
Well, we had,
But for the
my
most
group
part-
had a basketball court at the north end.
Oh, did they?
there you go.
Ah.
So our multi-use court, they were an outlier.
Eh,
Yeah, but most of them were fairly quiet down there,
yeah.
with a lot of activity in the narrow part.
Yeah, I think they should just be spread out with vegetation in between them all and kind of, you know,
The
boulders
next,
blend into a field really well.
The more it looks like it is right now, the more supported it's gonna be in the
Really?
community.
I think it looks horrible.
Yeah, not, you know, people are interested in wildlife, open space.
Yeah. but
I'm not
it's-
saying we, you know, we typically that we
It's a
do
bunch
things,
of
but
weeds out there.
Yeah, it's not
right
native
now.
in it.
It's non-native, but, you know.
No,
some
RCD
people
has been cleaning out the
don't think of it that
non-native
way. I've
stuff.
seen a whole field of weeds that are non-native,
They
but
still doing
some
that?
people don't see it that way.
Yeah.
The contract is with them. The district has a contract with Resource Conservation District, which was one of the caveats in creating the district, so that they didn't overlap, but the Resource Conservation District takes out, they've been doing work to take out the non-native
Right,
plants. and
the
free
ice
up.
plant and some, not that there's,
I
some on
think-
the north end.
I mean, in terms of next step, I think this is where the board, they wanted a lot of community input, they've got a lot of community input between the survey and the other things. There is a lot of consistency between what are the major themes coming from all of those. There isn't anything on the list that got an absolute, hell no, we don't want that anywhere near our park. And
The Olympic-sized pool?
Stage.
I think the Olympic,
I think that's, yeah, I
even a
think
pool was getting
I got
But
razzed,
it-
I got razzed for
People want
promoting an
that.
Olympic-sized pool.
I noticed the pool
It's in the
disappeared.
comments.
Yep,
There's, a lot of people want a swimming pool somewhere in the
somewhere on the
community.
coast. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking, the district is not just El Granada. Maybe we should be pursuing some things over in Princeton, or
I heard one of the
in,
board members talk about that pool on the,
yeah, well, I like your idea in the harbor. And, but there could be something active over in Princeton. And how about your area, Miramar? Wouldn't you like something over there?
There's no way.
the land, it's the hardest part.
Take a
well,
lot.
we have that little lot off, by Pillar Cedars Creek.
Yeah, did you ever get to sort out how to go take a look at it?
No, I still actually,
It's, I think it's
wanna machete my
inaccessible.
way in there and see if there's some archery to be done.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. It's like-
Where is this?
It's
You can see
on
it.
Capistrano Road, it's on the map.
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
right.
That green
there's-
square.
There's like a little, it's kind of, well, yeah, that's that.
It's like a forfeited
Oh, it's
piece of
Denison Creek,
property.
not Pillars,
Yeah.
Yeah, what am I talking about? Anyway, yeah, so it's actually pretty close to this intersection, but,
You can see there's one little tiny lot that is the district owns.
I think it's like 5,000 square feet.
Miramar East.
Oh, wow,
But I mean, you
Nothing
know,
else.
right by the airport there, yeah.
Oh, that little green,
just set up some
Strip.
like tree targets and some tree
it's like a
blinds. and-
non-conforming lot.
I don't know.
I think they're
Not
next,
sure when,
And a plinking range.
yes, that can go with the archery.
right by
Yeah.
the airplanes.
So Nancy, what do you want to have?
Well, I want to
Motion
sort of wrap this up with,
or-
Sorry.
really, what's our recommendation for next steps? I would really like to push the board to say, make a first cut on what you want K&K to draw on a map,
I agree.
or two maps.
I think we have enough data. I think it's
And-
really clear that our population is pretty much 50-50. Young people and old people, and I think it's our job as the board, we've collected enough data, is to make sure that that information is directed to Steve so that he can make it 50-50.
I've been pushing the president and vice president, at least, on, they have tapped PAC to be worker bees, or to give advice on the outreach events and how to do them, but not advice on the park. And the role of PAC is supposed to be representative of the community when they interview people. They're looking for a broad range of people. And because in our PAC tonight, there's the rules for PAC, it does say one of the board's responsibilities is to look to PAC as representatives of the community. And now, I wasn't quite comfortable doing that with no data from the community, but with the survey we've got, and other outreach we've done, we've got a lot of sense of view of the community. So one suggestion I heard from one board member that I'd maybe like to endorse, is that they have a special meeting with PAC and the board together to go through that list and say, what do we want to have in the first draft plan for the park, so that we can kind of get on with that.
Well,
and
one
get
of
to
the
next
things,
step.
like he said, something we all agree on, that park course, or the, what do you call it?
Perimeter trail.
The perimeter trail, everybody liked that, and so that definitely should be in there.
Well, I think what I'm saying is,
And
what I
they-
heard one of them say that I'd like to endorse is that they do a special joint meeting with PAC and the board, so that you have those voices together and go through each one, even if the process is they take each one they discuss it, and then they vote on it, so it's either in or out, but at least make the cut so that they get going.
I would like to see it in or out, or phase one, phase two, you know,
Ah,
It seems like,
prioritize with budget
I don't
and
know
fiscal
why-
constraints.
I don't know why the GCSD board doesn't let us come up with 10 things, because we've got the head in the game. We're gonna give them like a primer on what we've been studying for a year, and we're gonna let them make the decisions on what things happen? I don't think that's right. I think we should propose the top 10 things based on all the data that we've collected. We could probably come up with top 10 in 5 minutes.
Well,
And then we
it's
said-
right here.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so we just say, this is what we want to do. And we can explain it to them, but, I mean, if you're just going to sit here and have an opinion and they're not going to really understand or listen to us or act on what we're doing, that would be disappointing.
Yeah, I'm glad to see the children's playground, because that's the one area that, or the one group that doesn't have, the little toddlers, they have no place to go. All the other kids can play all their sports at schools. They, whatever school they're in, they've got plenty of sport activities, and they'll probably put in more. And we can even help with that.
I agree that the top 10 is easy, and I
So
resonate
the
with
children's
your point.
playground made 10.
Well, I just want to get, Michelle's point is that should the PAC come up with a recommendation for what to go in it? And PAC is advisory, and then the board can either take that or leave it. I think once it started to become real, and maybe because once a former member of PAC went to the board, they've got a fairly tight grip, particularly on this park. That's why I've been pushing them on. We're the Parks Advisory Board, and you haven't asked us for any advice on the park yet.
To me, that is just board
Just for-
egotism. You know, just because you used to be on the PAC board and now you're on the big board, doesn't mean you get to be the boss of the PAC board. You may have an opinion on your end when we submit our advice, but if my advice is not worth anything, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna walk away.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not worth something.
I don't think it's
I
worth
do
anything.
think
don't-
though, that's true, because it's just, look, because, you know, just because even those original designs came from, you know, not having any PAC input.
Right, they came from Leonard
And
and
when it
Barber.
was like the medians, it was like, here, design a park, you know, like, it was like, we got the, you know, the little.
The stuff they didn't wanna work with.
Yeah, the sort of like get your toes wet or something, whatever, but anyway, as far as the stuff, you know, here, I mean, I think it's funny, like, I mean, as far as like the PAC trying to come to some sort of consensus to all stand behind, I don't know, but I mean, to me, it seems possible, but I don't know if it is, but, you know, if you kind of try to sort of combine things, like, okay, you kind of say, okay, the sort of skate, bike, scooter stuff will be one feature more or less, you know? You know, that's why something like the multi-use court makes so much sense, because you're combining a lot of stuff.
Let me take
And-
Michelle's suggestion and maybe go the other way with it, rather than coming up with 10. Is there anything that where PAC either would rule it out, or we wouldn't all agree to rule it in?
I would suggest a two-step process.
Okay.
First motion would be that we have enough information to move forward with the next step of meeting with the board and starting to get preliminary designs. Yes or no? Do we want to do that and have that, you know, that's, and then the second motion could be, you know, either a top 10 or whatever else we want to come up with tonight based on the data that we have. I personally think there's certainly, you know, the survey and the workshop data come together enough to allow us to identify the top 10. So, you know.
I second.
Yeah.
So let's make an official first motion. First motion is to recommend to the board that there is enough data available now from the 3 outreach events to move to design phase.
Yes.
But if we're looking at this is only this one event. So
I
We
can pull the
need to take-
poster.
Yeah, we need to combine the other surveys in with
Well, I think
this.
you're
Claudia,
looking at the survey.
I dumped in your
This is
office
the
the other day the
survey.
posters from the workshop, and one of
But
them
this
is the
just this survey.
June 2018.
Yeah,
There were
just the
other
one
surveys.
survey.
I can
yeah.
grab it.
So we can't ignore everything that's
But
come
Fran, I've
before
got it.
this.
I've got it.
Well, as an example, I took the survey results and then added a column to the left of the total survey results, which were the results from the workshop. And I want to share those with you because clearly comes that if you combine, and again, it's not perfect, but it does give us some suggestions. The most popular item among both the workshop and the survey were restrooms. The second
That
most
is
popular
funny.
item was a skate ramp. Third was a skate park. Fourth
What are you looking at?
was the picnic, family picnic. Fifth was the children's
He's looking at something
playground.
you don't have, which is the overall popularity from the workshop voting charts.
Yeah, well, you have,
Versus-
you created
Yeah, are we
that.
gonna get copies of that?
When they agree
Six
that
was
it's
outdoor
okay
showers,
to
seven
publish.
was lawn area, eight was fitness course, nine was climbing boulders, 10 was group picnic area. And then we can go down, 11 was the pump track.
Let me do the first thing first, and make the word. So the motion is, we have enough data from the 3 outreach events to move to design. That's PAC recommends. And who did a so moved?
Designed by April, because I promised everybody.
ASAP.
Yes, ASAP.
And the design input straight to the architect from PAC.
That
Let me do
too,
the,
yeah.
let's finish this official motion first. So who moved that?
I did.
Pat? Do we have a second?
Sure, me.
I thought so. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, okay.
Opposed? Yes,
Opposed?
I did.
No, okay. Unanimous. And then the second idea, and actually if I'm looking at the list on page 12, I don't even think we need to limit to top 10. I would start and say,
Here's the list.
could PAC agree, they're in groups of 5, the top 20?
So that's what I'm doing.
Or at least let's say the top 15.
Isn't
Yeah, because it was interesting that the fitness or the perimeter trail isn't one of them.
Oh, yeah, so
I think it was assumed by most people.
Well,
Yeah, it's down. I mean, it didn't make the top 10.
Well,
And yet, that was something that everybody wanted.
but remember, we didn't map several things on this list: ocean views, benches, native vegetation,
Are you talking about
interpretive
trails?
signs. If you take those out, it is.
Yeah, but this is where you specifically have the situation where you'd have, I mean, who doesn't want an ocean view? Like, no matter what your.
I think there was one remark, who cares about that? Or something like that.
There were
Well, that, I
were
mean,
comments
someone
that
might have
it's so
said
noisy.
compared to other areas where I go watch the ocean from, this is not a significant ocean viewing spot, like,
True.
meaning,
It is from town.
You
I'm
see-
just saying,
You see
yeah.
the highway, yeah.
yeah,
There were
so.
people mocking the quiet area because of the highway noise. in the
That's-
comments.
the
Yeah,
airplanes.
you know,
Well, it's a
yeah.
calming between the highway and here.
But anyway, I'm just saying that this, if you were to say, oh, the top 10 of this, you know, I think, you know, what, you know,
The top 10 in the survey, I think, is easy.
Mhm.
We don't need to cut anything out.
I don't think so
The only
either.
thing
Yeah.
that, the only thing that didn't get support was a plaza. It was the lowest item in the survey, and it had no votes in the workshop. So I think that's one that we could say. The next one was a small amphitheater stage, but in the survey, there was a fair amount of interest in non-amplified music at concert.
Yeah.
So where are you gonna have that? But maybe we can take out the plaza, because there just hasn't been enough support.
Who was it that was pushing for
I
fire
mean-
pits?
What?
Fire pits, sorry.
I don't know, yeah, I mean, like, a plaza, I guess that would be, you know, I mean, it seems, you're right, it totally had no support, but even if he's had a picnic area, and in the middle of the picnic area, there was like a larger area, you know, you cover that too, even without having an
Yeah.
official plaza.
I think if you had a lawn area, you could lay out the flats and put a band on there if you wanted to do a non-HUD.
Yeah,
Whatever
it's
you call
accessible.
it, most people think of it as a paved or hard surface area that's flat, that people can gather in, that you could have some sort of mini event there.
Mhm.
But no one in the workshop wanted it.
What's that?
And it was the lowest rated item in the survey, so if we're gonna live with our own data,
Yeah.
that's not something that people want.
Yeah,
Mm.
the amphitheater seating was slightly more positive at the first event, where we just had people freehand.
Yeah, that's why I said we'd have to combine, I think, all three surveys.
The only thing, and I play pickleball on the multi-use court at Kuna. The only thing that I think wouldn't work well there because of the wind is the multi-use court. The one at Kuna, they have 10-foot fences and they have the wind screens on them, which
Mhm.
do block a view of anything.
Yeah.
And they're good until about 2 in the afternoon, and then when the wind really comes up, it's just hard to play anything with a flying ball out there. And this is a much more windy spot
Yeah.
than behind Kuna. And I really would love to have a local multi-use court. I'm hoping that the parking lot behind the fire station is maybe a good location
Yeah,
for
I was
that, which
gonna
is a
say
little bit
that.
more screened.
And,
Mhm.
Or
Pretty
inside
small.
the bay of where the trucks go.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's tall
We
enough
play
for a
pickleball indoors at the community
indoor
center.
basketball.
Yeah, I think that it would be cool, having somewhere with this, the multi-use court. You know, I mean, pickleball, I've never played it, but it does sound
It's fun.
fun, you know?
Yeah.
It seems like it's something popular with, you know, wide age groups. which
It's
is-
one of the most popular.
It's one of the
facilities
fastest
in
growing
Hampton
games.
Bay is-
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
gym, indoor, you gotta have indoor space here. One of these days, it's not gonna be a drought. And, you know, we could have 6 months of
Soggy.
inconsistent rains.
Oh, yeah.
I play indoor at the community center, or we play outdoor at Kuna,
Mhm.
but we gravitate indoor when it's windy.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just not a great location for a tennis or pickleball.
No.
When it's windy, but
It's almost always windy.
there is an ocean breeze. But even just tots out there on, you know, their little toys or whatever. I mean, I think a paved surface, no matter what, an open space is going to get used.
Absolutely.
Whether
yeah.
it's used as a plaza or an event or a pickleball, that flat surface will get used.
Yeah.
Whether it's what we
It's just
intended
that
it for.
If you're gonna make it a multi-use court,
Yeah.
you just have to do the big fence, and it has to have a windscreen. Or
You think the windscreen is mandatory?
the court closest to the, to Kuna does not have it on the bottom half,
No.
and the tennis players and pickleball players avoid that court.
Yeah.
Because it's just enough where there's,
We,
the air swirls.
Does that fence, does it, but it still can be too windy for the fence to even.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
because, you know, you hit it up in the air, and particularly wiffle balls for pickleball,
Yeah.
they're like,
yeah, those are very sensitive to
and the
wind.
wind catches them.
You need
It's
like
not an issue
subterranean
for
pickleball.
basketball.
Basketball's not a problem.
It's not a problem for basketball, and basketball, really, when you play with little kids, they always miss the backboard, so it's nice to have at least, you can just do an open chain link fence, which doesn't block
And
anything.
it only needs to be 3 feet.
Yeah, just to catch the balls that flies on.
And we have to think about that someday, you know, in theory, we have a community center, and we'll have indoor space for activities.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and, I mean, we just gotta be realistic, we can't have everything in one place, one
That's-
part.
That's a big piece of concrete, and I just think it's not the right space. If I were gonna drop anything, and that is about the only thing I would drop off this list.
What about the plaza? You wanna keep
You know, a
that?
plaza can be 20 by 20 feet, it doesn't have to be very big, I'd keep it. And it was on one of the maps from the workshop, I think it was Dan, it was the one that Dan worked on with Claudia. Because losing the post office lot, people saw that as the great place to have a little plaza, kind of like MacDutra Plaza.
The
where you could have
GCSD wants to
tables.
throw a community barbecue, right? Put
Yeah.
it right there.
So, I took a couple minutes to look at these lists, and I think that there's things that can be ganged together into one thing as opposed to having 10 things. So here's my top 9. There's still 1 to go. So number 1 is restroom, showers. Okay, that's 1. Number 2 is perimeter path and parcours and interpretive signs. Number 3 is bench views.
Bench views.
Bench views, you can put the bench somewhere.
Benches with views.
Benches with views. Natural vegetation area interspersed around everything.
Could bench views be incorporated with quiet space as well?
Yes. And
Quiet, yes.
picnic areas with barbecues,
Not quiet.
not quiet.
And benches too.
I mean, you could put
Those are
bench
picnic
views,
areas.
natural vegetation areas, and quiet all together.
Together, yeah.
Music area plaza. And maybe a place where you can put a top lot, jumper occasionally.
That would be
Yeah,
the
somebody
that'd be
commented on the
multi-court.
survey that they would only want that.
Well, the multi-court, I don't know if it's the best place for it. I agree with her. I think it should probably be a quarry park. I think the wind is a bit
A
better.
sports court?
Yeah, sports court.
Hmm.
You already have a tot area, and you segue, you can, your
Okay.
middle school kids.
I have my eyes on the bays of the fire station for sport court.
Then I go into the active part, go skate area, which would include possibly some bike, some scooter, some skate stuff. Then we talked about a climbing thing, climbing boulders. Dog park, and then a tot park.
Like a playground.
Off-leash tot park?
Off-leash dog.
I wouldn't have the playground as the last item in priority, right?
No, these are just
It's not
random.
priorities.
There's no
These are lumping
priorities.
these together?
I
Okay.
just, basically what I did is I looked at what Fran is looking for, and I was trying to look for what Rick's looking for, and I tried to put, kind of like a sort of 50-50-ish, but I combined some of the things that are, passive into one group, and now we're not choosing, 5 different things, we're choosing one thing, we're choosing like a quiet area.
I was thinking along the same lines with the bicycle pump track, skate ramp,
Yeah.
skate park. That could be
Yeah.
lumped into
One
one
thing.
activity area, one paved sort
Right.
of skate wheel rolly activity place. That doesn't need to be 3 separate.
And then
items.
you have 10 really easy. 10's easy.
So, let me see if I can make this into a motion, because I like this. If we just say, and our recommendation is that we move to design and you include these things.
Do we have a wall board or something that we can write these down on? Because I can't
Right
remember.
here,
all.
Pat.
I'll use the back of this.
Pat, there's a board right here.
Oh,
I'll do that. My notes are here.
Yep.
Oh, he can't see.
Oh.
We'll turn it around.
That's fixed, it looks
That's
like.
part of the wall.
Yeah, but you know what, I think.
here, I'll
we-
write it on give me the marker, I'll write it on the back here, and then we can hold it up.
That was me not right.
Give me the marker, please.
Black or something.
Is that-
As long as it's not me right now.
Oh, yeah.
Read that.
Yeah.
See that?
What's the matter?
Cameras aren't good enough to.
I was gonna read it before I write it.
Okay.
Oh, I got it, because I added a couple things.
There you go.
I added the art and, so,
Yeah, the art and sculpture.
what we have, and I'll play it back, Michelle, and tell me if I caught it. Restroom with showers, perimeter trail with fitness and interpretive signs, benches with views in quiet areas, and I would add art there.
There you go.
Native vegetation throughout, picnic and barbecue areas, music and plaza area, children's playground with climbing boulders, and a skate bike complex.
There you
Can I
go.
call it that? With-
Skate bike scoot.
Skate bike scooter complex.
Yeah.
Nancy, could you repeat that? I was getting a marker now.
Or you could call it a park, skate bike scooter.
I'm
park.
gonna write it on here if we agree. Is there, but take a look at the list, and is there anything else?
Where is the-
Complex is
Oh,
very
bocce
limited.
Oh, dog
horseshoes.
park, dog park.
That's why I think we need it on there.
I will- I
Claudia,
will.
do you have good handwriting?
But the problem, Pat, is the camera can't see that board.
Yeah, well, once we have it from there, then we can transfer. Where is the lawn area?
The what?
The lawn area?
Interspersed.
Yeah, I wonder, personally, just in my experience with growing a lawn, it was,
Go first.
and just say I don't have a lawn anymore.
I think
Yeah.
we could consider
We'll get it, turn it around
synthetic
for you.
turf. Because a lawn area is really designed to be, have a lot of use on it. It's supposed to be active year-round.
Yeah.
If it's muddy, it doesn't bother it.
Yeah, high traffic,
High traffic
you
area.
walk across it.
I don't think we want a pretty green spot just by itself. I think we
Mhm.
want, if we're gonna have a lawn area, it's gotta be something that's used.
Of
Whether
course.
it's, you know, kids mini soccer or something. I don't
What was
Maybe
that,
it could be
horseshoes, what was it, horseshoes and cornhole? Somebody was asking about that sort of, but that can be set up pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I definitely think
That's
there
a
should be
small area.
lawn area, you know?
Maybe it could be turf rather than, so you don't have, because that's what a lot of people object to, is having to water when we're out of
Yeah,
water.
the drought. But then what is that turf made of? Is that like plastic and better? yeah,
Some
is
of
that
it
like
is
a
better,
fit? I
some of
don't
it's
know.
better than others, but look at what the school, you know, the Cunha is, those fields
Yeah.
are used all the time.
Yeah.
So we'd find the least toxic
Yeah,
item,
Those are-
they're getting better at that now.
Yeah.
And it's expensive,
Those get very expensive.
but
Very
maintenance costs over the long run pay back quickly, but.
I mean, if we're not providing space for organized sports, a manicured lawn surface
Yeah.
seems like a very exorbitant expense
Mhm. Right.
for just
And there's gonna be
simply passively
gophers,
recreating
you
on
know,
it.
it's, I think, you know, people probably just want some place where they can sit and spread out a blanket
Yeah.
and not have prickers in their legs or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see,
I like
yeah,
the
I
beach
would
for
think,
that.
I would think having like, you know, large lawn area, you know, would be good. You know, or maybe, you know, but I'm just saying, as far as the space goes, it seems like trying to irrigate the whole, all the open space area. Seems
I
like
don't think we need to
excessive.
do
No,
that.
even with native plants, 'cause I redid all my landscaping with all native and drought-resistant plants, and my drip feed runs every 4 days.
Yeah,
I mean, you still have to water even
Mhm.
if it's native plants, or else you
Mhm.
just have dead native plants. Particularly with the first few years after you put them in.
our, my group 4, they were big on the lawn area.
the
So
one on the lawn.
I'm not sure, you know, if I am.
Mhm.
I would be all for it if we were opening it up to organized team sports.
Mhm.
Then it seems like there's a huge benefit for the community and worth incurring that expense and maintenance.
Maybe the halfway point is a small lawn area that people
Yeah.
can, near benches where you
Yeah.
can spread out, near the picnic area where you can spread out a little bit.
But then if you don't provide a dog park area, that's gonna
Right.
become your dog park.
That's your dog park right away.
And then turf and dog park is a bad,
Doesn't mix.
no, it's not your
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right. That is the
Well-
correct answer.
I'm not sure I like the idea of a dog park there, because it's, dogs just take over everything then. People, I mean,
That's
lots of people will be there
There'll be
with
people
all
with
their
dogs
dogs.
anyways.
Huh?
Whatever we do, we're going to have to, I mean,
I'm
there's gonna be a certain
thinking
amount.
the perimeter trail, if people could run with their dogs along the perimeter trail,
I mean-
as long as they're leashed, but I think an open dog park in that area by the highway, I
No,
think
you would
that's-
have to put a fence around it.
What we
Yeah.
had in the survey was a fenced
Yeah.
off-leash area. Yeah, I would never have, and I'm not one of the people who's advocating for off-leash areas on Pillar Point Bluffs and those sort of places.
They are.
Because there are bad, you know, there are bad dogs that go off leash.
They're bad
So
people.
I run my dogs off leash, but my dogs sit when the bicycles come by.
Yes, they do, actually.
Yeah, they're butting a lot of
But what we had
dogs.
on the survey was a fence, a
Yeah.
low fenced off-leash area.
That makes sense.
Whether that's better at Quarry Park, where they have more
Yeah.
space than we do, and they can be tucked off to the side, and it's already extremely popular with dog walkers.
Yep.
That would be an example of a better location.
That- You're getting into the debate
I
of
think,
support
yeah.
for two different things that should be remain separate. I mean, I was very worried that support for a pump track on Burnham Strip would decrease support for a pump track possibility at
Exactly.
Quarry Park. And so I was very much of the mindset of they should be different things. One should be dirt, one should be pavement. They are a different demographic and a different
I
surface.
personally think a dog park is better at Quarry,
At
and I
Quarry
think a
Park.
pump track is better at Quarry.
Yeah, and a dog park at Quarry, it makes perfect sense.
I was told that even the new administrator at the school is okay with a pump track over there at the school area. So we'll see, you know, what happens with Quarry Park.
The couple things that we haven't talked about on this list are, because, I think all we're saying is let's put these in the design plan.
Yeah.
And again, just like the Quarry Park master plan, then there's the phase of what you fund and build.
Yeah.
But if they have a space in the park, then we know they have a space in the park, and if they get built, they get built. We have not talked about, actually something I would advocate for is the half-court basketball.
Yeah.
It doesn't take up a lot of space, and you could put it where it's over by the pump house, and it's not blocking
Yeah,
anybody's
I
views.
think that's a better place than on the Burnham Strip.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about on the Burnham Strip.
Well, no, we can either have indoor in the firehouse or behind the firehouse or somewhere.
But it
where
was
it's
very,
already cement.
it's fairly popular, especially with families, and it doesn't take a lot of space
It's
at,
small.
at Burnham, and it could give you that sort of,
Open paved
that
space
paved
for
space.
kids on skates or, you know, that don't want to be in the park.
And the willows are so high right there that if you put something near there that, you know, had that covering around the fence, like they do at Cunha, I mean, you wouldn't notice a big difference.
well, no, just, I mean, for just a half-court basketball, all you need is a chain link fence behind the backboard.
Nobody
So
wants
kids
Only
a
around
can-
half
chain
of it.
fence along there. That's ugly.
It just depends on where you orient it.
Yeah.
If the willows are behind it, you're never gonna see it.
Yeah.
I think something of this size could get easily lost in the overall, you wouldn't even,
I'll show you where it was on the drawing. This is what convinced me, because it's so small.
What, a half-court basketball? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tiny. That's smaller than pickleball.
It's like the size of this room, it's half the size.
It's, no, it's half the size of this room.
Half the size of this room.
It's from here to there.
Mhm.
It's tiny.
These things are gonna go.
Should get into a fight with somebody with that?
We're taking way too much time on this, so we're gonna take
Okay.
a little bit of time on other things, but it's here.
Yeah.
It was really
It's
just
the
a
brown
shooting
part,
It's
right?
not-
It's that brown little speck?
It's this.
Oh, just the
It's
round.
not even really a half court.
No, that's just a,
It's a shooting court.
yeah,
Okay, turn it around so the camera can see too.
we'll get there.
Right? There.
Yeah, let's
And you can see in the space of the park, it's not a lot of space.
No.
Where he had it put here, it's not in the view corridor, and it's not near any of the houses.
So,
So I would advocate for that. We keep hearing about it, and it was
Yeah.
popular with the actives and the families.
I mean, some sort of paved sports court, whether it's a full-size or a half-court, I would advocate for.
Something I would take out of there is the showers. I don't think we need showers.
They were very, very popular.
They're gonna be on.
Every surfer
the
needs that.
Yeah, on the beach side, on Surfers Beach. They're gonna put showers in over there now. That's where they belong, not in our park.
But
You want everybody coming over to shower in the park? I mean, a lot of
sure,
people. will
rinse
be
off,
using
I
it.
will.
Why? Why would you need to shower
you-
in the
car is-
park?
You have to
there.
rinse the, it's not a shower like you would take a shower. You rinse the salt water and the sand off
But they
yourself.
do that at the beach, not in the
There isn't
park.
one there, and there is no
There
plan
is
to put
going
one.
to be.
So
According to
I
who?
know, but the thing
No,
is,
they're planning that. The Harbor
they
District
are,
is
they are.
working
but
on
the
that.
problem is, the surfers don't get out where those showers are. They get out at the stairs, they walk across the street, and they go to the parking
Well,
lot.
they will have to shower before, if they need to take a shower, then,
Are there any showers down there right now?
no, not
So what do you
right
think
now.
you've been doing for the last 50 years?
There were showers.
They
They
have
took
water
them.
in their cars and they shower that way. But what the surfers would like is they would like to have a shower in the parking lot where they park their cars.
And a lot of the surfers are not even
Why can't
parking
they,
their cars.
why wouldn't they shower
I
at
just told you why.
Surfers Beach?
They're not gonna walk 100 yards up the stairs, along the trail, to the showers, when they can go walk right across the street to where their cars are
But
parked.
Surfers Beach that's where they surf.
No, but it's not where they get.
It's not where they
off.
get out
The
of the
egress from
water.
the beach across the rocks, they go up and around. I can show you on the map behind you how the egress works, is how they get from the beach.
And in any case, Fred, a lot of the people that I see are they're walking with their surfboards down
I think-
Portola, across the parking lot to the beach, and they're walking back because they are El Granada residents, they're not
They're residents,
out-of-town
that's what the
surfers.
difference is.
off there before they walk.
Because walking a couple of blocks in a salty wetsuit, not all that
I
fun.
think,
So
I
what-
think you're gonna
what-
attract a
well,
lot
what's the
of other
down-
people
The
here.
downside of the showers is because of homeless people?
Yeah, I think
Or-
it'll attract a lot of homeless
Like,
people.
permanent?
Thank you. Steve
Okay.
even agrees. You
No,
could
I
have-
get it.
You could say something. You're part of the community.
They're gonna build the showers at Harvard District, so.
They are.
Going up there, and it's about, I don't know, what is it 50 yards from going up the stairs?
But
and-
you come up the stairs, and you go 50 yards down the shower, walk 50 yards back, and walk across the street.
A cold water spigot sticking out. I don't think it's very intrusive.
It depends
It's
where
not
they
heated
put it.
water,
It's
is it?
not heated water, no,
Yeah,
it's not,
it's
it's,
just
people are
cold
gonna
water.
be.
You know, there used to be showers there.
It was just a cold water
He
spigot.
took them out,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
It was an Eagle Scout project.
It's
I
only
know
been
the
10 years since
fellow
they
that did
haven't
it.
had showers.
Okay.
But it was just cold
Back
water.
to this, because we are almost done
Well,
with
what-
recommendations.
we're gonna have hot?
No, no hot.
Recommendation.
No hot, no privacy, just out in the open. It's a rinse off
Well,
station.
so it's still cold,
It's just a cold shower, it's cold rinse off.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's-
It's like pouring a bucket over your head, that gets the salt off. We haven't touched bocce and horseshoes, which are also things that tend to go close to each other.
Bocce, horseshoes, cornhole.
Isn't that something they can just put out when they wanna play, or does it have to be
Horseshoes is
separate?
different.
They have sand pits, bocce, it's like a wooden box, but it has sand in it for throwing the wooden balls.
Yeah.
Fun, fun. But the thing with bocce, I guess horseshoes, it's easy to just bring horseshoes. With bocce, people are needing to bring their equipment.
Yeah.
I think it's a high, I mean, it wasn't that high on
We
the
have
survey.
horseshoes down at Smithfield, that's where they go, I don't think we need to duplicate that. And Ocean Colony, they have bocce courts down there.
Yeah, they do, right by Mullins. Okay,
It's not that high up on the list.
No.
anything else?
Do we want to have the turf, if I read that right, associated with benches and views rather than the picnic area?
What associated with benches and views?
Turf, is that with
Lawn. Lawn.
lawn?
Oh, it's not on there right now,
Okay.
but it should be pretty high. I think I missed that discussion.
And you put art and sculpture with the benches?
Yeah,
Okay,
just so that they're.
yeah.
There's your 10 right there.
That's all right.
Close.
Who's counting?
So the motion would be, and I'll write this on the back up further, that PAC recommends that, first motion was that we have updated and moved to design stage. The second motion would be PAC recommends include in the design stage these elements
Yeah.
and proposes a natural groupings for them.
Do you think native vegetation and lawn area can be like in the same space? Is it just different kinds of grass?
I think the lawn area is
Different.
different, it's like recreation where vegetation is
Yeah,
passive,
gotcha.
more in the art side of things or quiet area.
There's going to be a lot of natural vegetation.
There will be.
Yeah, and I just the idea of, weaving it throughout so that it kind of creates separate spaces
Yeah.
in the park.
We'll leave it for the design, that's a
I
design.
think that's a design.
We'll let them do something.
Okay,
Give them some freedom with their pen.
I'm not gonna rewrite it on here, but I'll say it for the camera. The motion from PAC is to recommend to the board that the next stage of design for Burnham Park include the following.
Or considers the following. Or includes,
I think we're saying includes, in the design.
okay.
Let's give,
I mean, the board can always say no, so,
let's give them,
it's just advice.
Let's give them some advice.
yes. Hi, the advice from PAC is that the board moves to design stage, including these elements. Restrooms with shower, perimeter trails with fitness stations and interpretive signs, benches in quiet areas and with views and art, native vegetation throughout, a picnic area with barbecues, a music area and small plaza. I put small in, we're just gonna say music area and plaza. A children's playground with climbing boulders, a skate, scoot, and bike complex,
I don't like the word complex, can we use park?
Yeah, think of park, okay. Skate, scoot, and bike park.
Sorry.
A fenced off-leash dog area, a half-court basketball, and a lawn area.
Second that motion.
Now I gotta write it all down. Any more discussion?
I think we're purposely leaving off the multi-court at this point, is that right?
I wouldn't
Pickleball
recommend it.
and tennis is not possible in that location.
Well, it's
for
just
most
not,
of the time.
it's just not a favorable location for
No, it's not
wind.
fun. Okay, just want to be clear.
Ready to vote on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed to some of those things, so I can't vote for all of that.
Okay. Okay, well, motion is carried, 5-1. That is like the most actionable thing. Thank you, Michelle. I think that we've done back in a while. Claudia, you've got the list? I didn't write down the motion.
I got it.
But moved by me, seconded by,
Yeah, the complex
Who
sounds like a
seconded that?
multi-story, which, I
Carried
mean,
Might as well
that might be kind of.
Might as well use the word compound.
Yeah.
yes.
So, what did you say that is? And what word does that have to be published?
Oh, this is just a report of about the workshop, where I recorded all the dot scores and all the pictures. I sent it to Matthew, Barbara, and David, because Barbara and David were the sponsors to review before I send it around. Okay, now where are we? About an hour behind on our agenda.
We're gonna whip the rest
But I
of
think
it
this
out.
one will be quicker. Paul,
There's no
can we
end to
have
it.
an update on the progress of the pump track task force?
Well, so we met at the park, say, our task force and Dave Seaton. Actually, Michelle wasn't able to make it, but yeah, we talked about it, and we talked with Dave about the area that was suggested by the two guys that are, say, the local builders. And I mean, it's just kind of, I think really what we're at is we're still, so I reached out to Sam, actually that really, didn't happen until today, but I sent him an email to set up a meeting with Dave and us and Claudia, hopefully.
Yeah, I sent him a voicemail as well.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, then
And
we'll
you
find
said
out.
the park, what park?
Oh,
Quarry
the
Park.
park, at Quarry Park? Yeah, so, and it's like, we talked about an area up there that just has, there's a slope of the hill right there. And one thing, that's real nice about it is, with just some bushes, you could pretty much conceal it from,
Oh, so
Most of
where you're talking?
It's,
yeah. So if you go up,
There you go.
Here's
You can
Quarry
see
Park.
back in here.
yeah,
the tip
yeah,
of
up here,
that, the
like
tip of that.
about half the area we're talking about is almost right in these trees, and there's a lot of well, they did kind of start to run a mower behind it, but there's like a dead eucalyptus tree.
And there's some construction debris up there, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway.
It's up way up in the valley.
This is the area that at this point seems, like the spot, and
You could
and it
hide
puts
in
up here, and then you still have a lot of room for people to throw balls for their dogs and stuff. So it seems like a nice spot, and so, but obviously we have to really we still have to get through to the county and do that. So, I apologize for not being more, having,
That's the location we're telling, that's our primary location. We're telling county, this is ideal, this is the one we'd like. Can we have this spot? If not, what are your suggestions?
Okay.
If they're in agreement to just giving us a spot and then we go from there, that is our spot.
And I think really what the thing that the county is needing and needs to happen, and I've said this before, is this agreement. So I know And I know Sam said that they had, we had an agreement with, it was with Public Works, so about the medians. So I imagine there's some sort of legal framework that can somehow possibly be.
Could be a use permit for that chunk of Quarry Park
Okay.
from county parks, I would imagine.
Uh-huh.
Or it could simply be, the board already said they would do funding, that basically we'll organize Friends of the Quarry Park Pump Track as the volunteer and maintenance group. There's a the Parks Foundation. I think you talked to her and they didn't want to talk until the master plan was done.
Yeah, they were, exactly, yeah.
But-
They're interested, but I think they want to gauge what the county has to, what the
They
county
wanna see
thinks
the
about
master
it
plan
first,
first.
yeah.
I talked to some of the local rangers themselves about how the community park, or the community garden works, and I think that model exactly would fit exactly what
Yeah.
we're looking to do, and that framework exists, where they've just given that section to the people of that community that maintain it themselves. And
I just got
take
a
care of it.
plot there.
Exactly. So you're familiar with that process and how that runs. So that's the framework that we want to.
The Rangers do a
Obviously,
little
there's-
support, and they give a little, actually, the Parks Foundation, Cemetery County
Yeah.
Parks Foundation funded the improvement of the area.
Exactly. And I mean, obviously, there's different liabilities involved with growing vegetables versus sports activities.
There's bees.
There's bees and shovels. Those are dangerous. Golfers bite. Yeah. All right. But
Okay, but I think actually that kind of model
Yeah.
is
exactly
would be
what
a
we
great model.
What we would like to see.
Yeah, and I think that's really where, we're at, and once we get past that, I think, the actual, that'll be the fun part, right?
Implementation.
Designing,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think what you may be able to learn from Sam is what are the hurdles then to go through for design and permitting and
yeah, so,
liabilities. And I think Director Seaton sort of jumped all the way to, okay, so they want us to take on all the liability, yada, yada, yada. I thought, I don't think actually there is even that level of discussion yet.
yeah.
Just exploratory, really, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's, just getting this agreement, and then, from there, and we're gonna have to figure out, how to build it, within the requirements of the county, because they're not gonna make anything relaxed for us. It's still gonna be, still gonna have to run through every, review and, permitting and stuff, and environmental review, I guess,
Yeah.
for, that it would be no matter what, so that's gotta be accomplished, so,
But at least
we'll
if
have to
you
figure
can
out how
get
to get that, structure established.
an agreement
Right.
on the structure.
Yeah,
And then the design part is probably the easiest part, but then it's getting it through all the permitting and and environmental
Yeah.
review.
and the license
before your shovels
building.
come out, yeah.
Yeah.
But the interesting part, though, is when you talk to the guys that build pump tracks, it's like, the actual construction is,
Very easy.
yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, he's like, we just, they said a tractor 4 days. I was just talking to Tony the other day. He's like, we just need a tractor 2 days. He's like, that was
Move
being,
dirt.
yeah, we were,
Moving dirt.
yeah, just basically set the rough piles, and then it's all shaped by hand from there. So it's really, it's the whole, design and, the reviewing process and these permitting and all that is such a,
That all has to do with drainage and erosion and
yeah,
sediment.
and that's all, those are all things that are designed for larger projects and things that are more permanent and, more impactful to the land. It's just, so anyway, but we're gonna have to go through it.
I think when you do your EIR, you just have to check less than significant.
Yes, that seems to be the magic. I would really recommend that you find out
Write
as
that
much
box
as you
on there.
can, and actually, I've got, my across the street neighbor is the coordinator for the community parks, for the community garden, so I might be able to find, if you can find out as much information as you can about that arrangement,
That model.
and inform Director Seaton, so that when you go into the meeting, you kind of go in as a unified front with, this is a
Yeah.
model that would work, and you're all speaking from the same
Yeah,
page.
yeah, to avoid confusion.
Yeah, or reinventing.
I like that. Let's go in there with a proposal, like this is something existing.
We have sketches of where we want and what it'll look like,
And you parks have a model for how to do this with community in the way you do it with
Yeah.
community.
exactly, it already
Garden.
exists in your framework.
Yeah, okay. Good. I hope you get your meeting, I think you were aiming for before Thanksgiving if you could.
Yeah, who knows, I mean, who knows what Sam has going on.
Yeah, last I talked to him, it was the Portola Heritage Trail was
Yeah.
taking most of his time.
Okay.
Okay, on to item number
Is that
4.
Portola Park, Portola Park?
Yeah, it's a trail that actually goes from Pigeon Point all the way over to Palo Alto. It was the original Portola
Expedition.
Trail.
Expedition
Wow.
Trail.
Maloney expedition. Yeah.
That must go, yeah, wow.
A lot of
Yeah,
Go
and,
over,
and we just got the last,
Alpine Road and all that.
Bob Nisbet just got the last, leg of the Bay to Sea Trail that goes right by the Johnston House.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, Claudia, you have a mission statement for us to review.
I do.
So Claudia Marshall, Parks and Rec Coordinator. So, you know, given the fact that everybody seems to be serious enough about having a real Parks and Rec group within the district, I thought it was only appropriate that we have a mission statement that defines what we're attempting to do here. So I put together one, and I took pieces from the GCSD, their mission statement, but basically Parks and Rec's mission is to serve GCSD's community with the thoughtful development of parks and recreational activities for residents of all ages, coupled with a dedicated focus on steadfast environmental stewardship. And so I wanted to propose that to you as a committee and to get your feedback to see if that's something that you like.
I have
I like it.
one comment. If
Yeah.
we're gonna include the ages comment, we should probably include the abilities.
Ages and abilities.
that would
Yeah.
apply too.
Yeah, I mean,
All ages and abilities,
Yes.
absolutely.
yes.
And I would suggest, with thoughtful development of parks and provision of recreation activities, because we're not developing recreation activities, we're providing.
Say that again, Pat, I'm sorry. Thoughtful.
Development of parks and provision of recreation activities,
And provision
recreational activities.
of recreational activities.
And this is not PAC's mission, that's where I'm a little,
Yeah.
This is the
Unclear.
district's park and rec mission.
so the district has a mission related to its sewer program, is that
Mhm.
right? And this would be for the other element?
Mm-hmm. For Parks and Rec.
Okay.
I like it. Shall I move that we agree the mission statement with stated revisions?
Mhm.
Michelle second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Claudia.
You're welcome, and then we move on to item number 5.
Potential winter courses.
Why only summer is what this one is about.
I saw that.
That was actually in one of the survey comments, was
Yeah,
why
it was.
only summer recreation?
Well, now we have staff to do things.
That's right.
So, item number 5, you know, this room is seriously underutilized. I sit back in that little corner room, and if there's 1 or 2 meetings here a month in the daytime, otherwise this room is totally empty.
Is this room available for scouts or other nonprofits to use that are in the community?
This room is available and people can sign up for it.
Where-
If there's a calendar behind you, and if it's not shown that somebody is using it, then it's available for other nonprofits.
The,
Do they have to be registered? nonprofits, or can they be a community group that's a?
That I could not answer.
No, it can be, I connected it with the El Granada Neighborhood Preparedness Group, the CERT group.
Mhm.
And so now they have signed up for it for like the second Monday of every month.
Mhm.
They wanted me to suggest, because you're in the Miramar group, that let Miramar know that that's possible. Delia has a form that they have to fill out to officially get it, because they can get keys. They need a responsible person who gets keys to get in and out. So the CERT group is using it, and we might explore a little bit more how we could connect with CERT groups or support training or use the space for training if they're small.
And Coastside CERT in El Granada is going to have a November 9th CERT program at the firehouse.
A community
West-
awareness day for neighborhood preparedness.
The West Miramar CERT group is going to have a public meeting November 20th, 6:30 at the Quality Inn.
Okay, so yes, those are not nonprofits, so.
What group is that?
West Miramar is a group within the Coastside CERT, and we're trying to have a neighborhood organizational meeting.
Community
And
emergency response
what's the
teams.
date again on that, Pat?
November 20th, 6:30 p.m.
So if there are other groups that, where this would be an appropriate space, then, because you can move the chairs around, but Delia asked that you move them back, because there are various agencies that meet here. It could be used more for those sorts of meetings. But I like, Rosen Movement happens in here. We did do a yoga in
We did
here
that.
once.
Yeah? I agree. I think it's a good idea.
I think everything on here is a good idea. The two things that I would add perhaps for winter courses, one is Barbara Dye has offered to do the El Granada history walks more often,
Oh, good.
like maybe every other month, or I think she said it would be great to have them every month, but we might need other people to deliver them, but she's willing to deliver them, so you could negotiate with her on when. And the other one that was very popular in the summer, that doesn't have to be summer, is the Sea Forager,
Oh, yeah.
coastal clams and mussels, that
Mhm.
maybe he would schedule a date or two. And are you thinking these could be paid programs, using Eventbrite or something to collect payment?
I think, well, CPR and AED, which is Michelle's baby, the board wanted to underwrite. So that would be a free for the residents. But, and Rosen Movement, she just asked for.
A $5 drop-in.
$5 drop-in. But I think everything else, well, not everything else. I think a lot of it could be drop-in, like the knitting and needlework could be drop-in. If things like drawing classes for either kids or adults, those would have to be a paid thing, because we're talking about instructors. The same thing with the adaptive cycling. I don't know if we could do a combination with Half Moon Bay Rec. I talked to Eddie Beal, and he said, that's a possibility
That's a
that,
good one,
we
yeah.
could do that back and forth. And so that would lessen our costs there, and maybe we could do it monthly. I don't know how,
I think that's asking a lot of work.
I'm sorry?
I think that's asking a lot of work.
Because they're in
A lot.
Berkeley.
Very, very busy. It took me, for a weekend, it took 4 months of planning
Okay.
in advance.
So maybe we could do one in the winter?
Yeah, that would be,
And if it rains, what happens?
well, we have enough forecast probably to indicate whether we have to cancel it in advance or not.
And we
Mhm.
postponed it before, it turned out.
Yeah, and it turned out okay. We had to move it to a weekday
Mm-hmm.
instead of a weekend. Weekend, they're busy. You're not going to get there very much.
But, the Friday seemed to work okay. Friday afternoon.
Yeah, weekdays are possible, for sure.
Okay,
Remember, it gets dark at 5 o'clock now.
yeah, I noticed that. Okay, so,
I don't hear any objections, any comments? Are you thinking of just publishing these electronically, or on the, Claudia has now got GCSD agency Nextdoor account, which is mapped to the district's borders for Nextdoor, so she can post things there. So is that what you're thinking, just that kind of publication?
Well, I think that, plus Eventbrite for all of them. And because particularly the ones that we're charging for, we could definitely get, have them do the ticketing for us. And then, our email group, send it, as much.
And if you put it out on an Eventbrite, I can share it to Coastside Buzz Facebook.
Good.
So Buzz and the newspaper were the place where they found out about our recreation programs most commonly.
The newspaper was awesome, weren't they?
Between those two.
Mhm.
They were really good at putting it on their page too.
Yeah.
They have all those young interns now, they're happy to be helpful.
And it's free
And yeah, it's free.
So far.
so far.
Okay. I think that's a good start. Did somebody ask for knitting and needlepoint, or did you have?
No, I just thought, for our older segment demographic, it would be nice to offer something beside Rosen movement.
You might be able
That's
to
great.
coordinate with Ngari down on Main Street.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kim,
that's a
Kim
good
might
idea.
be interested.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nonstop, so.
All right, well, there you go.
Yeah, my
I
house is full
thought
of
there,
knitters, so.
I thought there was some kind of
I
group,
knit.
a knitting group.
There is a Coastside knitting group.
That's a thing, so,
Knit happens.
Yes. There's nitwits as well.
Do they still meet at the yacht club? I think they still do. They have to.
Yeah, they also do. There's one at Pete's Coffee and there's one down at the Lighthouse in Pigeon Point. Yes, knit-ins. Yes.
okay, guys, we're down to the last.
Okay, we need a resolution though.
Oh,
We could go
okay.
learn, or an action.
We need a motion to
Motion.
support Claudia's proposal for winter classes.
Second.
Yeah.
Claudia, I think, is this something we would just put in the parks report to the board and see if they object?
I'm sorry?
Is this something we would put in just in the parks report to the board and see if they object, or?
Motions are helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Then they have to react.
Well, it's just, I have never quite figured out where motions go to the board, because they don't necessarily get on the agenda. So I've tried now to make sure that I put them in the parks report, and they can at least, if they're not specific on the agenda, they can't discuss them,
Yeah.
but
I
they
think that's
kind of
a-
react to them.
I
It
think
can be
that's-
part of that park segment of every board meeting.
Yeah, the part, that's the parks report.
Yeah.
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 Michelle, with addressing to the CPR AED classes, I know a long time ago, there was a babysitting class certification that the Red Cross did. Is that something still that exists, or
I
is it like?
could do an unofficial babysitting thing,
It's like
but
a first
it's like an
baby.
extra hour, but real babysitting infant CPR
I imagine
AED,
that's
it's an
changed
8
since the
hours,
70s.
it's up at CSM. So
Okay,
it's an 8 hour.
that exists
course.
still, but that's something totally different.
Yeah,
and it's probably-
I did do it, and what I would do is I would just say, I'm teaching you how to do it, but you'll get a card for it.
Right, that's what I
So,
remember. Okay, so that's something different, okay.
Just to be official, that motion was from me,
Sorry.
seconded by Pat. All in favor?
Aye.
Nice. Unanimous. Thank you. Couple just last bits of business. One is that the Parks Advisory Committee renews every 2 years. I know a couple of you have not been 2 years, but it's the even years at the beginning of the year. And so the two-year term is up at the end of this year. If you would like to continue on the Parks Committee, the guidance on that is please send an email to Claudia, cmarshall@granada.ca.gov. It simply needs to say, I would like to renew my term on the Parks Advisory Committee. If you would not like to, it would also be really helpful if you would write the same email, I would not like to renew my term. That will, she'll take that to the board, and so they'll know in January if they need to go through the process to appoint any new members.
That's only for people that is due to expire?
No, it's
Or
the
everyone?
whole committee turns
Okay.
over every 2 years. As I understand it.
3 weeks? I don't know.
Yeah. So, 3 meetings, you've had 3 meetings.
Not much fun, huh?
Get out of here.
Yeah, we hooked you in with that pump track thing.
Yeah, get
So I think it's in here.
We all got fired.
We've had enough advice.
Yeah. I was just looking for where this is in the.
Say her, see, what is the email?
C Marshall, MARSHALL, @granada.ca.gov.
Should have the email address, she just emailed you the minutes.
Yeah, you can email that,
Oh,
yeah.
right. You're right.
Just making sure.
Well, I won't be getting the minutes because.
No, he just said, you just emailed, so everybody has your email address.
We have your email address.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just emailed.
Just,
Yes.
you just did. Unless you
Last-
change it between now and then.
No.
All right.
We could actually pull this off at getting done within 5 minutes of 9.
Let's do it, let's do
We
it.
just took an hour and a half for the first thing, and everything else we motored
That
through.
happens.
So, just to schedule, future agenda items will continue to focus on the park and the pump track, those are our, and the recreation, those are our kind of 3 major areas on our current work list. And Delia had suggested a while back that we schedule like a standard meeting date. I'm gonna have to look at the calendar for this. And so, Paul, are Tuesdays are bad for you?
You know, it's not, I mean, my kids are home alone. But that's not a bad thing, really.
I haven't heard the fire
It's
truck.
not, if it goes late, it's not good, but, I mean,
How old is the oldest?
12.
The
And he'll be
12?
13 soon.
I haven't heard any sirens, you're fine.
Yeah, I know, I mean, we have, you know.
They seem like responsible
Little
kids.
house on the
Yeah.
prairie.
Okay,
So Tuesday's fine, honestly.
what I
Well,
would,
what other night is better?
is there a
You
better one?
know, no, Tuesday. I like Tuesday, actually.
I only just
I
need to
second
avoid
Tuesdays.
Thursday. Okay,
Does it work,
So-
does it work good? Is that
Tuesdays
good
work
for
for
everyone
me.
else?
Things, park, pump track, and what?
park, pump track, and recreation.
I had to let out my class early tonight to get here on time.
Is there a better day?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Thursdays are not good because I have other
Same
boards.
here.
Wednesdays are okay with you? Wednesdays better?
I guess.
Wednesdays.
Think about
I
it.
appreciate that. I
When-
can't.
And if we go the first Wednesday of these
Hold on,
months,
we
then
gotta
it
check his
won't.
calendar. Hold on, we got Daddy-O here.
I have scouts, when do I have Cub Scouts?
On Wednesdays?
Yes.
I
At
was
7
gonna-
o'clock, 6 o'clock on Wednesdays, I have Cub Scouts.
Oh, is it every Wednesday?
No, it's once a month, so it's not the end of the world.
Is it the first Wednesday of the month?
Yes.
So we can,
So we could do another Wednesday.
Well, I was thinking, some people like to go to MCC meetings, and those are the second and fourth Wednesday.
Right.
that's the trouble with this, there's so many different meetings. Steve knows how many. Yeah.
Thursdays,
Well, that was the problem with every night of the week for a while, there's,
Mondays are good for me. I have a board meeting the second Thursday, and we go to the GCSD board the third Thursday. So we could do the first Thursday.
Sam's the only board that meets on a Monday, though, so Mondays are good.
yeah, the
Mondays?
board.
Monday's good with you?
Monday.
How about you, Mondays? Okay,
Mondays.
then I'm gonna propose before we, did you look at Big Daddy?
What if
there,
there's a
Michelle?
holiday on that Monday?
Like a 3-day weekend?
Then we
Yeah,
get,
we don't have any.
then we don't have a meeting.
Well, if it's Mondays,
meeting
it would
every week,
be,
we're just meeting
because I don't
once
think
every
these are
quarter,
gonna be
right?
holidays. If we meet once every 3 months, starting in, that's our standard, is to meet at least once every 3 months, starting in February. It would be February 3rd, May 1st, August 3rd, and November 2nd.
Email the dates, and I think that's
Where
good.
did you know those are all first Mondays?
Yes, because I wrote down the first Tuesdays when I started writing dates, so it's just
I
the
was
day
gonna say, where
before.
did you see that? I don't see a calendar there.
And that way we get on this schedule for, 4 meetings for the year. February is after the first board meeting of the year, so we should have, and at that meeting, we need to every year we vote on officers. So that's what we'd be doing February 3rd. And it's also after the first GCSD board meeting, so they can affirm membership at their January meeting. Okay. Any other business? Any other comments? Claudia is committing to getting minutes done within a couple weeks while memories are still fresh. The hard thing is we have to wait for the next meeting to approve them.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah.
Can we
And
check
you have
if,
to sign the meetings for the minutes.
oh, okay.
Can't you approve minutes by email?
I don't know. Let's find out if we can circulate them by email for approval. Because then we could get them posted within a couple weeks of the meeting.
You,
I mean, they would have to circulate to all of PAC.
Yeah, but.
It wouldn't be public
Julia
approval of
told me
minutes.
that if they couldn't be approved until the next
I think the
PAC meeting.
the norm is they're approved in a public meeting, because they're part of the public packet. But I don't know if that's a norm or a rule. I used to do this with policies.
We can always
For us.
reapprove them at the meeting if we
could
see
post a
them
draft.
earlier.
I wonder if we could post on the website a draft to be approved at the next meeting.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And as somebody who looks at minutes regularly for Coastside Buzz, the sooner you get it up, the sooner I can get it out.
Yeah. Let's see if that passes muster with Brown, that we post
Yeah,
draft
got it.
minutes to be approved at next meeting.
Right.
That way we can look at them while it's still fresh in our minds. All right, well, with that, we are adjourned at 9:05.
Well done.